Hey, my name is John Broadwell. I'm the creator of the Serial Wombat open source project and the currently running Kickstarter campaign for the Serial Wombat 8B board, which is a general purpose I/O expander and embedded systems coprocessor for Arduino, MicroPython, etc. We're going to be looking at one of the coolest of the add-ons for that campaign today, a ceramic coffee mug handcrafted by my wife, Marshelle Broadwell of MarshellBroadwellArtandCraft.com. This is a limited edition add-on because of the amount of time and effort it takes to build each of these cups. They're all hand-built from Kentucky Metalworks clay and hand-painted, hand-glazed. And each one takes a significant amount of effort. So they're limited to a maximum of 5 add-ons across the entire campaign and up to 5 sales in a package along with the developer kit. So anyway, she made 2 additional ones for us. So there'll be a total of 12 of these out there in the world if everybody, if the add-ons get maxed out. And so take a look at these. I think you'd have a lot of fun with one, adding on to your Serial Wombat pledge. One of the things that I like to do with this channel is try to educate across a variety of different media and creative aspects. And so here's my wife, Marshelle Broadwell, who's going to explain the entire process that goes into creating one of these hand-built coffee cups.
I'm Marshelle Broadwell. I like to make art and craft in a variety of mediums. You can find my work at www.marshellebroadwellartandcraft.com. One of the mediums I like to work in a lot is ceramics. This is my Skutt Glazetech Kiln. The Skutt Glazetech Kiln is a tiny test kiln, and you can fire about 8 pieces in it. It's a good size for me because it can live in my garage. Works really well, and I can fit about 6 or 8 mugs in it. I made mugs for Jonathan for his Kickstarter campaign. Each mug takes me approximately 2 hours to make because of the time to roll out the clay, hand build the piece, dry the piece, the back and forth of checking on it while it's drying, the underglazing it, and then the glazing it before I fire it. So each mug is a fair amount of work, and each mug is totally unique because, as I say, I build them by hand, I paint them by hand, and no 2 are exactly the same. If I make something on a wheel, it has a tendency to be more symmetrical and round. The mugs I made for the Kickstarter campaign have a natural wonkiness to them, as all of my hand-built pieces do. In this case, the mugs were built out of Kentucky Metalworks Iceman with grog. It's cone 6 clay. The grog in the clay makes the piece less susceptible to cracking, makes it less susceptible to problems with thermal shock. Grog is like pre-fired clay or like sandy, rocky bits that are very small that are in the clay. To make the pieces, first I designed the mug in Procreate. Then John used his 3D printer to take my drawings of the side walls, the circle, the impression that makes the picture on the side, the stamp that makes the impression on the inside, and he made a series of cutters and stamps for me. I rolled the clay out just in my kitchen, cut the pieces out, rolled the texture roller over the mugs, and then built the mugs together. I had to let them dry. The mugs have to be fired twice. So at the point at which they're done being built, but have not been fired the first time, they're called greenware at that point. They're very fragile. Really, it's just kind of like dried dirt that's held together. You cover them with plastic so that the clay evens out and dries at the same rate. Leave it covered in plastic for a couple of days, then tent the plastic, then pull the plastic all the way off to let it completely air dry. Once the pieces are completely air dried, then I put it in the kiln. When I put it in the kiln, I fire it the first time to cone 04, which is a relatively low temperature for ceramics, and I fire it on a slow speed. It takes about a full day for the kiln to come all the way up to temperature and go all the way back down to temperature where I can open it. I can't open it until it's about 115 degrees. If I do, it could shock the pieces. And I generally, just to be safe, give all of my pieces a preheat to make absolutely sure there's no moisture in it before it starts rising to the firing temperature. After they've been fired the first time, They've been transformed from greenware to bisqueware. Then after they're bisqueware, I take the pieces and I start adding color to them. I add color to the channels, the outside of the textured piece, by watering down the paint that we use on ceramics, which is called Underglaze. I fill in the channels. Looks pretty messy at first when I do that. Then I wipe it back so that there's just black underglaze in the channels. And then I paint underglaze on all of the colored pieces that you see on the mug. I do 3 layers. You have to add underglaze in thin layers. You need multiple layers. The different colors of underglaze react differently at high temperatures. I fire at cone 6. The higher temperature you fire at, the more problems you tend to have with very vibrant colors like pinks, reds, purples, that sort of thing. They can lose their color and kind of go brown when they're fired at very high temperatures. So after I put the underglaze on, I let that dry completely, just usually for 1 day. Then the next day I add a glaze. In this case, I use Kentucky Mud Works Super Clear for the glaze, 2 very thin coats. I try to make sure that I pick a glaze that has a good fit with the clay that I use, so that the underglaze, that the glaze rather doesn't craze on top of the cup. If there's fit problems between the ceramic and the glaze, sometimes you'll see very fine cracks that happen in the glaze. I use Kentucky Mud Works clay, and then I also use Kentucky Mud Works clear glaze so that they have a good fit. I neglected to say, for the inside stamp of the mug, I painted the Have Fun Make stuff before I bisque fired it, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to get down to the bottom of the mug. You can apply underglaze either before bisque firing or after bisque firing. So after I put the underglaze, the paint on, and then the glaze, 2 coats of that, glaze turns into glass in the kiln. Then I let that dry completely, just overnight. Then I put it back in the kiln. I put it in the kiln, and then I fire it at medium speed to cone 6. Cone 6 is around 2300 degrees, 2200 degrees, I think. And that takes, again, about a day to heat all the way up and to cool all the way back down to 115 when I can take it out. And then when I take the piece out, then they're ready to go. They're completely food safe. I'm sometimes asked if the pieces are dishwasher safe and microwave safe. I don't put the pieces in the dishwasher. I don't put the pieces in the microwave. There's no reason that you can't, based on the materials that are used. But I would say they're fragile. They're not like commercially created clay. They are subject to, the pieces are subject to thermal shock. So if you're going to put something hot in it, something very, very hot in it, I would preheat the cup first with very warm tap water. We run coffee out of our Keurig directly into the cups. I don't preheat the cups for that purpose. If I was going to pour boiling water into the cups, I wouldn't do that into a very, very cold mug that I just pulled out of the cabinets on a cold day, because it could cause thermal shock and it could cause a crack just because of the handmade nature of the pieces. If you're interested in looking at some of the other pieces that I've made, either my ceramic pieces or some of the other arts and crafts that I make, you can look at my Instagram. My Instagram name is Marshelle Broadwell Art and Craft, or you can again go to my website, which is marshellebroadwellartandcraft.com.